Tonight, we're not just watching horror movies, the horror movies are watching us. We're breaking down two iconic meta horror films in a pre Scream era. So grab your tickets, butter your popcorn, mind the aisles, and remember the call is coming from inside the screenplay.
Hey everyone, I'm James.
And I'm Derek, and welcome to Don't Be Dead.
Today's episode is all about the pre-Scream meta slasher films, 1994's Wes Craven's New Nightmare and 1991's Popcorn.
Yeah, and so Scream 7 is coming out, and we decided to talk about two films that came out and like before Scream, but still in the early 90s that kind of fall into that meta category because Scream gets a lot of credit for being like the I don't know what you call it, James, like the master of meta horror film.
Reset the genre. It's never been done before, etc., etc.
All that, it's like Scream saved horror and all this stuff. And it's like, while I don't necessarily I don't disagree that Scream is a great film and it did like give a jolt of energy into like the horror genre. Horror didn't really go anywhere in my opinion.
I feel like it has to do with like mainstream. Like I think mainstream media had completely given up on horror mostly until Scream. But we wanted to talk about these kind of like unsung heroes because Wes Craven's New Nightmare gets brought up a lot in a great way for being like, before he did his swan song of Scream, this kind of walked Wes Craven's New Nightmare so that Scream could run. Although I really don't think that Wes Craven's New Nightmare is walking by any means. I think it's fantastic. And then you introduced me to this little movie called Popcorn from 1991. I love your popcorn shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah, it just stunned me how incredibly meta that movie was. And when you look at either of them separately, or like we're going to do kind of look at them both in a retrospective, it's insane how much the Scream franchise and meta horror pulled from these two movies. Now, spoiler alert, this show is for people who we assume have seen these movies because we're going to talk. The girls are going to talk.
We're going to talk.
Let's walk. If you've been here before, we don't just go right into talking about the movies, even though it's a horror movie podcast.
What do we do?
It's game time.
Oh,
we play games, bitch.
You're always playing games.
I'm a game playing ass hoe. So this game is called Now Showing. Since today's that's right. Since today's episode is all about like
what is it showing? What are we showing?
We're good. I mean, surprise, it's whole. But I mean, I wanted,
I love that band.
I wanted it to be the climax. It's excellent, Bill. Excellent, Bill. Okay, so since today's episode is all about like the movie within the movie within the movie, I'm going to list specific films, and I'd like you to tell me what movie the characters are watching in each of these films. Now we'll do a warm-up question so you get the idea. Okay. So it's what they're watching, movie within a movie within a movie within a movie.
Okay.
And your head explodes. Okay. So the warm-up question, Dirk, if you're ready.
All right.
Easy one. What movie is the character of Dylan constantly watching throughout the course of the 1994 meta slasher horror movie Wes Craven's New Nightmare?
That would be A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Now, okay, this is for real. That was your warm-up.
Okay.
For real. And some of these are easy and some of these are not, bitch. So get ready.
Okay.
What slasher horror movie are the teen characters watching at the end of the 1996 film Scream?
They're watching Halloween.
They're watching
Halloween. Yeah.
Yep. Fantastic. This is good. Off to a good start.
Oh my gosh. I'm feeling confident.
Listen, Derek holds the record for the most, like the highest scores in the Don't Be Dead games, which I think needs to be some kind of Olympic event that we do at some point with like sabotaged, like javelin wielding, like something, right?
From like Fatal Games.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Giving Fatal Games, give Graduation Day, we'll give Death Spa, we'll give, all of it.
Okay.
Don't Be Dead games. Okay, next question. In the 1981 film, Halloween 2, that's French for 2. Mr. Elrod is passed out while watching what movie?
Night of the Living Dead, James.
Yes. So fantastic. In the 1998 horror sequel, Halloween H2O, you already know, what movie is playing in Sarah and Molly's dorm room?
Scream 2.
I almost was gonna ask you, what is the movie playing in the beginning when Marion walks in and finds Jimmy dead. She goes, "Jimmy, Jimmy." And
Oh
he's like,
god,
yeah, because when but
I
I don't know
couldn't
what it
tell
is.
you, I
It,
don't know.
it might even be like a TV show, honestly. When she opens the door, the audio is like your stupid mind or something like that. I don't know what that movie is, so I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going
Okay.
to do that to you. Like, we're not trying to sabotage one another. This is a podcast where women support women. So, okay, what film is playing during the movie theater scene in Gremlins?
Snow White.
I
Yes.
mean, the official name is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but I will give you Snow White
Girl,
because
okay.
there's even whistling and singing, right? Like, what?
Yeah.
So cute.
I love
I
that
want one.
movie.
I
I
want
know. I
one.
do want one. I would take a gizmo or a gremlin. Either
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
either.
Mhm.
And I am both of those things depending on if I've eaten or not.
Right.
So, next one. In the original Nightmare on Elm Street, what movie is Nancy watching while she drifts off to sleep and ultimately encounters Freddy?
Oh, shit. Mm. I don't know. Romeo and Juliet? I don't know.
We used to have an audio for You Didn't
It
Get
was a
It. Now
scream. It was a scream.
we don't have it anymore.
Where is she? That counts. That'll
There
work.
you go. So, yeah, you didn't get that one. So, but I didn't know this either. She's watching The Evil Dead.
Is she? Okay.
Yes. And then it's funny because I do recall hearing that in The Evil Dead, there's some kind of poster that I think is like The Hills Have Eyes or something is in the basement. And so in A Nightmare on Elm Street, they're watching Evil Dead as like a hey, we saw
Oh,
that you did
okay.
that. And then I
Yeah.
think in Evil Dead 2, there's something like they did like it's cute. Sam Raimi and Wes Craven did like a little back
Maybe
and forth.
okay. I am vaguely remembering seeing like that zoom in on Bruce Campbell's face now. All
And
right,
then
that was a good
eh,
one.
okay, the next one. In the criminally underrated action film Twister, what movie is playing at the drive-in during the F4 tornado?
The Shining. That
Uh,
would be so cool to see at a drive-in.
I know. Okay, early on in Rob Zombie's The Devil's Rejects, the Firefly family are holding up in a motel. What movie is playing on the TV in the background? They don't acknowledge the TV, they don't talk about it, but it is there.
I've only seen Devil's Rejects like twice.
Okay.
And
What was his House of a Thousand Corpses kind of compared to a lot?
yeah, like Texas Chainsaw. So are they watching Texas Chainsaw? Oh, cool. All
Yeah,
right.
it's just on the background. Okay, last question. Or is it? I don't know. This one I definitively know is right because I took
Okay.
notes myself. Name at least one of the fictional movies playing at the Horror-thon in the 1991 film Popcorn.
The Stench
The
or
Stench.
Mosquito.
Mosquito.
And the
Remember the
other
other one?
one is God,
I'll give you a second one
the
first. Yeah.
magnificent electrifying man or something like the amazing electrified man, something like that.
The Attack
Yeah.
of the Amazing
Yeah.
Electrified Man.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm gonna say you got 100. Well, you did get one question wrong, but then I also messed up a question, I think, and so maybe it balanced out to like, there
I
was
got an
not even
A. I
there
got
was
an
not even a trivia game, basically. But yeah, congratulations, Dirk.
Thank
A great
you.
transition into us talking about these two films. Now,
Movies within movies.
movies within movies.
Yeah.
Did you have a preference of which one you wanted to talk about first?
We can talk about you know what? Let's talk about popcorn.
I love that.
Let's talk about popcorn first because I love popcorn. And
Tastes great.
I'll give you just a quick premise of the movie.
Please do.
It's follows a group of film school students who are trying to raise money for the film department. And in order to do that, they decided to put on this horror-thon at like a local like rundown theater, and they're going to show like 4 old movies and have different like interactive elements to it. Like there's a movie that they're going to show called The Stench. Well, they figured out how they can make nasty smells come through the theater at the time, right?
The old like throwback to like the 50s, how they used to you go to the movies and it was
Yes.
like a 4D experience before
Yes.
4D. Yeah.
And you have like little nose clips and you can clip onto your nose. It's like little
Mhm.
props and stuff. When the Attack of the Amazing Electrified Man, like the seat like will shock you and stuff like that.
Zaps. Yes.
There is like a main protagonist. Her name is Maggie/Sarah, played by the lovely Jill Sholin. She's in the film department. And but what you learn about her is that she has these like recurring nightmares and these recurring visions from her childhood, but she's not necessarily sure it's her childhood. She just sees some crazy shit. And so that's the basic premise of it. And but at the theater, everyone's dressed up and like as different monsters. The students are wearing like the old school like cinema attire, like they're all dressed up and they have like the big like shoulder pad things and stuff.
They were doing such a great job of throwing it back to like when it was such a spectacle to go to the movies.
Yes, it was a big deal.
And then, I mean, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I love to do that. The audience later is totally in on it, like from go, in such
Yes.
a great way too. They like killed it. And then the dream sequences, like you were saying before, they were giving like Clock Tower, the video game. If you played that,
I
Phenomena.
have played Clock Tower 3.
Dark-haired girl in like a white dress, being like,
Yeah.
"Help me!" And there's like
Yeah.
swords and daggers and
Very
whatever.
dreamy,
Dreamy.
dreamlike.
Yes. So
So
she's having some fucked up dreams.
she had some fucked up dreams, and like through the course of the horror-thon, we come to find out that there is a killer amongst the group who's impersonating like the professor and the classmates because they're all dressed up in these like different costumes, very much kind of reminiscent of Terror Train. How the killer will kind of jump into a different look or disguise, so you can't really tell what's going on.
Done much better here.
But the movie itself is just, I think, super fun. Like it's not like a very gory movie either.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. I was just shocked at how if you took like the opening scene of Scream 2 and made it a full movie, that's what this is.
Yeah.
But this came out first. So this movie very much had to have inspired a lot of the stuff in the Scream franchise, the whole franchise. Like the cinema club scene is, I think, what they call the cinema. I think it's called Cinema Club in like Scream 4, but it's the cinema club in this movie. They're having like a discussion before class, and they're all just battling about this movie versus that movie versus this movie. And I was like, this is giving Scream 2. I wrote this quote down. This is what one of them says, because the banter and the dialogue is great. There's more character development in Police Academy 5 than in all of Ingmar Bergman's cinematic smorgasbords. I don't know who that is, but I was like, whoever wrote this knows horror and knows cinema, and it's giving Aliens is far better than the first and blah blah blah, and James Cameron, you have a hard on for Cameron. Like, just add Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Well, they acknowledge that horror movies exist. They acknowledge those, and a lot of times in horror movies, like they don't even acknowledge that horror is like a thing. They've never seen a movie in general. They don't know what's happening. Movies don't exist.
Even not having seen all the movies that they're talking about, it still put me in a position where like I could relate to the audience. Like I wanted to be at that horror-thon. I wanted to be in that cinema club. I wanted to fucking just be there. I wanted to be Toby at one point.
Speaking of which, Tom Villard, who does play Toby, we have to give a shout out to him because we love LGBT representation in horror films, especially when they get to be the killer at the end.
Yes.
That's what I love. And spoiler, we've already warned you, Toby ends up being the killer, who's like, he's more of like the assistant professor kind of a thing. Is that the role that you get from Toby? He's not necessarily like a student. He's more like
assistant teacher.
Assistant teacher.
Yeah. He's doing all the logistics for the professor. The professor's teaching.
Yes. Apparently, during production, he let his fellow cast members and the director know that he had AIDS in real life. He was like really sick during this shoot, and like but he loved the project and he wanted to really give it like the performance that it needs, like he's the fucking killer.
Well, he's great throughout the whole movie, but once you start realizing it's him, he uses molds of other people's faces throughout the movie to confuse the audience, us, and the people in the movie themselves, and the actual audience. He's confusing everybody with who he actually is. And then he reveals that his face is actually like, terribly burned.
Yes.
Because he was, big plot twist, a child in the front row at a show that they're showing a movie. And at the end of the movie, this insane director decided to quote unquote finish the movie live with his
he's part
family.
of like a film cult. Like this
and he murdered his wife on stage and attempted to murder his daughter. And the daughter, her name was Sarah. We find out that she grew up adopted by, because we haven't even mentioned this icon yet.
I know.
Adopted by her aunt, Dee motherfucking Wallace,
Queen,
who delivers. always, but especially in this movie, I loved her.
Yeah.
You know, we find out that she was there the night of this, like, you know, the crazy director,
Yes.
the possessor,
The
the possessor
possessor.
is
Yeah.
showing his film. He kills his wife and he's going to kill the daughter. D. Wallace shows up, shoots his ass because
Caps
she's that
him.
bitch, caps him. Probably had her gun sideways too, saves the little girl. And then I think accidentally actually sets the place on fire. I think it was like during the scuffle, the thing topples
Yes.
over and the place burns down, which is what leads to, you know, Toby becomes the killer, et cetera, because his whole body is burnt.
Burnt.
Now we're present day and she's getting these random phone calls, which also come to play in Wes Craven's New Nightmare. We love a phone call moment. And in Scream, like you can't be meta without a phone call. The moment that Dee Wallace pulled up to the theater, because she's like, you're not going to fuck with my kid / niece.
Mm-mm.
And she has a gun.
Well, he told her to bring it, and she's like, bet.
Naturally, I was actually scared. That whole scene was really creepy,
It was
really
dark.
scary,
Yeah.
dark with like the face. He's like behind her sometimes, and he bursts through a wall behind her,
snatched her. Yeah.
And then you don't see her till the third act. Thank goodness she was, you know, still alive. But she did an amazing job in that whole sequence. I'm glad that they let her be the badass that she actually is.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But it's a big like twisty twist because you
There's
know that
lots of
the
twists.
lead
Yeah.
he has been, gosh, like a facade, like putting on this fake Toby face for his entire life, growing up essentially and going to school with these people to then be like, I'm going to kill you now because I need to finish my movie.
Right.
Amazing. But he delivers, the whole point of this was he delivers this crazy monologue. And, you know, we love a killer monologue, but they can be very silly. Even in like Scream 2. What is it? Is it Mickey? Is that his name? When he's like, Billy's mother. And you know, like it's very over the top. And then even Laurie Metcalf, right? Playing Billy's mother in Scream 2, she gives this crazy unhinged monologue. In Scream 3, monologue. You know, in Scream 4, it's like we always get a monologue at the end, but
we love a monologue.
One of the more believable ones while still being so over the top, but then also hilarious because there's parts where she was like, please, you can't do this. You know, I didn't mean to. And he's like, oh, then I guess I'll just let you go.
Yeah.
Like
it was so,
it was so good. Like I never didn't believe him.
Well, he was having fun with it too, because like, remember when he put Dee Wallace in that full body cast, you know, and like has her pointing that gun. And what is the line he says, James? Do you remember the line?
I'm so glad I cast you in this.
I'm so glad I cast you in this. Yeah. Like, it's just layers. It's
this bitch had me cackling. She was hilarious.
I know. The killer's very theatrical and he puts on this big performance and he's he's filming it. He's making a movie and all this stuff. Oh, and he loved a pun too. He goes, when he puts her in like that dress at the end, but like something about an Iron Maiden, you know, and he like clamps her down, you know.
Yes.
So he loved a pun.
I still have a little time to kill.
Yeah.
Like, sir.
So did you know that this movie had filmed for like 3 weeks before they fired the director, hired a new director, and fired the lead, who the original person they cast to play Maggie was Amy O'Neill from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so the new director who came on, I guess, saw some of the scenes and he's like, I'm not exactly sure why they fired the director. These are fine. Like they had already filmed some of the theater stuff, like the theater things. He goes, that was great. And at one point, there's even like a montage, like that's still in the movie of them like getting the theater ready, like everyone's cleaning up and stuff. And
I loved it.
You can still see Amy O'Neill in the theater. You see her in there. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like there's a wide angle, like almost like from the stage, looking back at them, getting the actual theater itself, like with the seats ready. And she's off to the right. You can see it's like, okay, who's this other random blonde girl that we didn't get?
And they're probably like, it doesn't matter.
Her.
Like I will say, I loved that montage. Absolutely giving.
Well, I love all the reggae music they played. They're trying to make it seem like this movie's in like Southern California, but they actually filmed it in Jamaica and they're playing all this reggae music.
Yes, they filmed it in Jamaica. So I'm watching the movie and I'm like, wow, this like early 90s hip hop soundtrack is so different than what we usually were getting. Like we were getting still like retro kind of synthwave. We weren't fully into, you know, like the mid late 90s where we're getting like grunge metal popular music and whatever. So it was very hit and miss. And I was like, I've never watched a slasher movie that was like reggae music.
Reggae,
Was
yep.
and it's like incorporated into the soundtrack, like into
But
the
I
score,
never
really.
considered it and never I'm like, "Oh, this makes sense." You know,
It
it's
made it so
whatever.
much more enjoyable and different. It stood out because later there's a scene where, the lights go out in the theater
Yeah.
and they're like, "Bring out the band." I don't know, like, "We have to figure out something until the lights can come on. Bring
"You're
out the
gonna
band." And
riot,
the
there's 1,000 people
yeah,
in there,
a
they'll
1,000
riot.
people. They bring up this reggae band, and it was so fun to watch, and the way it's
Yes.
spliced with the action that's happening elsewhere, I was like, I just don't understand how this movie is giving so much, and I haven't seen it, like, the entirety of my life, but yeah, it was filmed in Jamaica, and I love that. But I will say that so the movie is credited as being directed by Mark Harrier,
Yes.
who I guess is the director they brought in
The new
after.
director,
He
yeah.
who what I could find, he is an actor from Porky's,
Yep.
and he never directed anything again.
Nope, that was it.
And that is just insane to me, and that breaks my heart. But the movie
Yeah.
came out great.
I think so too, and, like, it wasn't well received, like, when it first had, like, its first theatrical run, like, it found, like, its audience really in, like, the home video, like,
Mhm. Which most movies did.
era. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then, like, it's gained such a cult following since then. It's just like,
yeah.
"Look, dude, that's unfortunate because I feel like he came in, he had to, like, clean up the pieces. You're, like, halfway through filming, you know what I
And I
mean?
would
And y'all
never
for the
have
yeah,
known.
we're gonna talk about, New Nightmare shortly, but I did like there's kind of a similar parallel with them. There's this whole, thought of, like, a director or, like, a movie writer who's, like, tortured by these demons, but the only way to get, to find, like, an answer to get peace is to actually, like, write the script and do the movie, you know?
Yes,
And
bitch.
that's so like, Wes Craven actually talks about that in New Nightmare, you know,
Yeah.
that's Toby's motive, and that's something that Maggie's trying to do too, to try to
It's
uncover
it's
her trauma and, like
it's very yeah, those themes are, like, suggested in Popcorn, and then they're spelled out for you in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, but they are
yeah.
the same. And then the motive,
Well, she
yeah,
even
the
says
whole
it when, like, when he has Maggie tied up and Toby's saying, you know, "I've gotta do this movie," and she goes, that makes sense to me," you know, because she's doing the
yeah.
exact same thing, you know,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
less violently, you
But
know?
less violently, yes.
Yeah. I thought it would've been a cool thing, like, if that was gonna be, like, her brother or something, like, I thought
I will say I'm glad it
addition
wasn't. I think this stands out more for not doing that. Although it would have made sense because a lot of movies did that kind of stuff, like a long lost sibling from an accident 15 years ago, quote unquote, that like they just magically forgot about. That's so 80s. And this
Yeah.
movie is very much, it's early 90s, it's 1991, but it still feels like a great extension of like
It
the
could
late
have been
80s
it could have been
slashers.
1989 as well. Yeah.
Yes.
It could have
Yes.
very much could have been
Loved.
around the same time as, like, Nightmare 5, Nightmare
Mhm.
4, the Friday 8 and 7, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Speaking of Nightmare 5, we have
Yes.
Yvonne from Nightmare 5, who I didn't like in Nightmare 5. She's
Yeah.
still in high school all these years later, or I guess this is college maybe, but, it's quite a few years after that movie, a couple of years, and she redeems herself greatly. I liked her a lot more in this movie than I liked her in Nightmare 5. I might like her more in Nightmare 5 now after
Kelly
having
Jo
seen this movie.
Minter.
Kelly
Yeah.
Jo killed it in this role. Love that she lives in both. She lived in
Yeah.
Popcorn, she lives in Nightmare 5. She made a comment that's like, "It's not your hair anyway," and I was like, "Yes, bitch."
Oh, yeah, she grabs that, like, Joy, that, like, bitch that Maggie's boyfriend takes to
We
the
didn't really
movies.
we
Come
didn't really
on.
yeah, we didn't talk about these people, but, like,
It's
Maggie's
okay.
boyfriend, Mark, who is a major league hunk, he's kinda stupid, like, he's a little dumb, but he's handsome.
He pulls a
He
Brady on her. He
he
pulls a
pull
Brady.
yeah, he
Mhm.
pulls up with another chick, her name is Joy, and I will say, I kind of loved Joy. She was that bitch.
She was that bitch, and she knew it.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yes, no, the confidence, listen, like, if you're gonna it's similar to, like, the Kathleen Kinmont where, like, if you're
Yes.
gonna pull a Brady, you're gonna
With
do it with
her.
one of these
With
bitches. Yeah,
her.
it's one of these 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I loved her, she was great, but the boyfriend brings a date to the horror-thon
Yep.
knowing that Maggie's working it. Is weird, he's stupid. He is stupid for the duration, and
I
remember at
know.
the end, he, like, saves the day, but kind of doesn't save the day. He, like, jumps on this giant mosquito
Zip
prop, which
lines down.
zip
Yeah.
lines down and misses entirely.
Everything. Yeah.
Can we just, for a second at least, talk about these 3 amazing imaginary
Yes.
movies?
They look real. Like when I was a kid, I thought these were actual like old movies of the
I'm
50s
not
and
I'm
stuff,
not
you
a
know?
kid, and I thought so too, and I looked them up, Derek, because I was like, we have to watch Mosquito.
I know.
I was gonna text you, and then I looked it up first, and I was like, shut the hell
It's
up,
not
it's not
real.
real.
It's not real.
Not real.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you know?
I will
Like,
say, yes, that whole
yes.
scene. There's a lot of God references in both of these movies too. Because in the movies within the movies, in this one, every movie, well, there's one line that I thought was hysterical that pops up. It's always get Washington on the line. That's in
Yeah.
all three movies.
Yes.
But
You
you
were always
know,
high voltage to me, Vern. I love that.
so freaking good.
I'm glad you liked this movie. I was gonna be heartbroken if you didn't.
But there's lots of reference to God. So they're praying, like you said, at that one scene that walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and then God bless you, Mr. President, and then Amen, and then may God have mercy on our soul. There's a lot of
A
that,
lot of God.
a
Mhm.
lot of God. It's just
Well, we
kind of
used
like
to be a proper
there.
country, James.
It's church
Yeah.
and state, but
Mhm.
before they were separated, we were one nation under
Right.
God,
Yeah.
right? God
Mhm.
bless you, Popcorn, 1991, and then A New Nightmare, which we'll get into. It's very like on the nose with the God references, but I
Yeah.
love that both movies had it.
The stench was cute with, like, the bad dubbing, you
I
know?
love that it was purposely the bad dubbing. All of these fake movies are being played. There's like props, there's a big giant fake mosquito that shows up during the mosquito movie, which is giving like the ghost face in Scream 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Again. Then
Well, Attack of the Amazing Electrified Man or whatever, that's actually like a Wes isn't it didn't Wes Craven do Shocker?
he did Shocker.
Which is, like, essentially the same thing. Yeah.
So it's like a precursor, postcursor, all of everything.
Yeah.
And they get their booties shocked for the stench. They have like the fog thing that comes in because it's very much again giving Scream 2. The audience is like screaming,
Oh,
interacting. They're hilarious.
did
So
you write down "Kiss Me, Dick"? Did you write that one down?
yeah, I got Kiss Me Dick and then Kiss Your
Kiss your
What?
what?
Yeah. We got people breeding in the balcony.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's just so good.
So you actually liked it. That makes me very happy.
I really liked it. There's also water sports. Someone gets peed on.
There's a golden shower moment.
Derek loves water sports. He loves recommending movies to me where someone gets peed on.
I do.
Rawhead Rex.
I do. I do.
I should look out for that going forward. But yep, I thought the movie was fun. It was creepy. It was scary. It was a good for her movie. I believed the killer
I
when
know.
he does meet his demise, which is like, holy crap. I will say it was a lot because the movie is very similar to Scream in the respect that the
Yeah.
kids are having a great time and everyone's acting very normally and naturally, but there are horrific things happening that most everyone's acting appropriately toward. But when he does get impaled by the mosquito prop, he is screaming and squirming in such a way that I was uncomfortable.
Yes.
So he dies horrifically
He does,
and painfully.
and two, like, if you haven't watched it, like, much like James, if you're anything like James where he has to have characters that he can root for and, like, you'd like likable characters, I feel like all the characters, like, the kids and, like, the students in this movie are super likable,
They were.
especially, like, Joni, the girl with the short blonde hair, she has a crush on Toby the whole time. And there's
Yes.
this one scene where he's about to kill her. Like she's upstairs, she's trying to do like the smells, the scents, and she's trying to like pipe them
Yep.
through. He comes behind her and she thinks that it's
She thinks
and
it's somebody else.
seeing somebody else. And so she's talking to him and she's like basically confessing that she has this huge crush on him. And
Yeah.
a big part of why he's doing this is he feels like he can't have a normal life, that he
Yeah.
has to wear this mask the whole time, that no one will ever love him. But you have
Yeah.
this girl here who's like confessing that she's
You could have
got
had
some
it all.
feelings for you, and he aborts mission and
Yep.
decides not to kill her.
Yeah.
Give that movie a chance if you haven't.
Yeah, if y'all haven't watched it, I mean, if you haven't watched it and you're listening to this, we did just spoil beginning, middle, and end, but I will tell you, it is still a great time. That These
Okay.
are like the Scream franchise. There's no way that they didn't look at this movie first. There's a line where Maggie, the character of Maggie, says at the end, let's make the next one a comedy, okay? Because
Yeah.
they are constantly talking about like their relationship with film, like throughout the course of the thing. That line, though, the let's make the next one a comedy is 1,000,000% Sidney Prescott saying, why couldn't we be a good Meg Ryan movie? Or
Yes.
something? Kevin Williamson is a horror movie fan. So when he wrote Scream, there's no way he didn't see this.
He had to have seen Popcorn.
It's not copying.
He had to.
We can look at these movies now and go, holy shit, Popcorn did it first.
Yeah.
The other thing is, did you notice the credits have the pictures of the characters with their names exactly like Scream?
I never noticed. Okay.
So if you watch the credits, the characters' faces pop up.
We are
Same
just
song and everything, directed by
children.
Wes Craven.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was saying, well, speaking of Wes Craven,
Mhm.
let's talk about New Nightmare.
Let's talk about 1994's New Nightmare. So is the movie called New Nightmare or is the movie called Wes Craven's New Nightmare? Because let's start with that.
I call it New Nightmare, and when I logged this on my letterbox the other day, I just typed in New Nightmare, and that's how it appeared.
Yeah, I think his name is just above the title, but
Yeah.
I love that it has the double meaning of it is Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
So
Because
you
the
you say its full name like you say, Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Mary Elizabeth
Okay.
Winstead's New
Yeah.
Nightmare. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we have said 1,000 times his name, but New Nightmare is directed by Wes Craven, who also directed, The Hills Have Eyes, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, Serpent in the Rainbow. Like the girl has done a lot. Red Eye. So
Last
every couple,
House on the
Last House on
Last
the Left,
House. Last House on
Last
the Left.
House,
He did
every
something called
couple of years.
Chiller too. Did you ever see the movie called Chiller?
Didn't see Chiller. He did Shocker. He did a movie with Meryl Streep that was
I
like
saw
not
Shocker.
horror.
Was not feeling Shocker that
I couldn't
much.
get into that one. I couldn't get
I
into that one.
tried. It just was not it for me.
Wes Craven, the master of suspense. Rightfully so, he was called that. So he wrote and directed this movie. To give like a quick premise, if you have not seen it, and gosh, I hope you have, the Nightmare on Elm Street movies have kind of run their course. We've
Can
already
we talk
gotten
about that real quick though? Just real quick.
sure.
When I texted you this the other day, I was like, James, like, it's kind of like blowing my mind that this movie came out just only 10 years after the original one.
Yes,
10 years just back then felt like an eternity.
it feels like a 20 or 25-year later
Yes.
legacy sequel.
This is a
because
legacy sequel.
It,
Yes.
and it's a legacy sequel before, on top of being the meta before meta, it's a legacy sequel before we were getting legacy sequels. Like he was so ahead of his time, it makes me sick to my stomach. So this takes place only 10 years. It's only 10 years after the first movie, which was 1984.
I've almost known you for 10 years. Like, I feels like I just,
Flew by.
like that's insane to me. Yeah.
That's wild. Oh my
Think about
gosh.
that. That's insane.
I don't want to think about that.
I have known you almost as long as,
It has been 10 years.
yeah, the time span between
When did the Friday the 13th video game come out?
2017.
Okay. Okay.
So May of next year will be 10 years. So
We'll celebrate a decade of
yeah, that's
this bullshit.
insane.
That's
So
stupid.
think about this. We're basically in 1993 right now, thinking we're never gonna get another Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
And then
Well,
magically, because Freddy's dead. Freddy's dead, right?
and then here we go.
Yes.
Time just so weird now.
Time is irrelevant and a construct, and we're living in a context. So Freddy is dead. They still want to make another Freddy movie, and Wes Craven says, "Hey, y'all, I have an idea." Basically, New Nightmare is a film about the creators and filmmakers who made the franchise wanting to make another film. So you are watching the actors and producers, for the most part, play themselves, and it is how they have reacted and how they are coping with the franchise now that the franchise is dead.
Mhm.
And it establishes Freddy Krueger as kind of like this evil entity that can only be contained if he's written into these movies. Like the arts and writers and
Yeah.
storytellers are what keep
storytellers.
the evil at bay.
I love that.
I love it.
I wish they had tapped into that just a little more.
Okay, the storyteller part I was cool with. I did want more of the ancient entity.
Yeah.
That's the only gripe I have with the end of the movie, which we'll get into later, is there should have been more of like a final form, kind of. Because okay, backpedal for a second, we're still in the synopsis, but the evil entity basically takes the form of the fictional
Freddy,
character
yeah.
of Freddy Krueger, but it is not Freddy. So we follow Heather Langenkamp, who is the actress who played Nancy in the first movie and also in Part 3 Dream Warriors, and she's playing herself. Heather Langenkamp is playing Heather Langenkamp.
Yep.
She is an actress, and she's kind of looking for her next gig, and she has a small son who's played by the incomparable Miko Hughes from Pet Cemetery and from Kindergarten Cop. Boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. That bitch crushed it. He's giving the performance of a lifetime. The man playing her husband's not her real husband, but he's inspired by her real husband because her actual husband does work in special effects, like makeup effects and stuff.
Not played by Bill Pullman.
Not played by Bill Pullman, which you thought. It's very similar, though. They had the hair.
It has been years since
the
I've
face.
seen this movie, like literal years. And in my head, it's Bill Pullman,
Okay.
like,
And we can still say it is,
yeah,
if that works for you. The first scene is essentially a retelling of what you think you're watching, kind of the same scene from the original. Like, we're seeing someone make this glove, and it's the same music. It's just like slightly different, slightly more modern. Now we see the
yeah.
glove is actually metal, and the music is a little different, and the
Metal.
visuals are is metal, yeah. And then we cut to this person is gonna cut their hand off to put the glove on. This glove, this metal glove that seems to be like moving on its own, right? Right when the cleaver comes down, we are revealed to be on a movie set.
Yep.
So this movie doesn't kind of play with the meta like Popcorn did, where it's like
Yeah.
you're watching a movie it just full on says no, like we're gonna fuck with you from go.
Mhm.
Because the Nightmare on Elm Street movies are you don't know what's real because of the dreams. This movie I love because it's you don't know what's real from the dreams, but now you don't know what's real because you don't know if it's film or if it's fiction.
Part of the
But
movie, yeah,
yeah, you're
yeah,
watching Heather Langenkamp play Heather Langenkamp, but there are moments where they're so closely resembling the original film, and she at one point is having to, choose if she's willing to play the character of Nancy.
yeah.
I'm telling this to you, but we're watching a movie where she is back already playing the character. So like that's where this movie I think
It's
dives
a mind
full in.
trip.
It's
It's
a
a
mind
mind
trip.
trip.
The thing is, it's so well done here. I think that this movie is probably smarter than Scream, but Scream
Oh.
is the more blockbuster in your face, get your attention movie. Because this movie came out and didn't do well. People did not react to it.
Well, and Scream also had the main cast was, like, teenagers too,
Yes,
It had,
this
like,
is
a
very much
young cast.
that's
Heather's a
true.
mom,
Yeah. This is
and
this is like Nightmare on Elm Street for the parents,
it's for
the
the
new
parents.
parents.
It's for the new parents.
The new parents, yeah. So we see Heather is on set of a
Well, she's
movie where
constantly dreaming
yes,
too.
she
Yeah.
wakes up, she's like the girl doesn't like we are always in a dream with her in this movie.
Well, what's interesting about this too is, Heather doesn't have to, like, discover what the rules are and how to defeat she already is
Mhm.
aware
Mhm.
of the rules. Don't fall asleep. That's the biggest thing. Her son Dylan is, constantly having seizures. He's freaking out. He's saying shit from, like, the original film, and they're both in just a complete fucking mess because her husband ends up getting killed.
But even before, I was so stressed for both of them the whole
Yeah.
time. Like Heather had so much anxiety. She wakes up from that dream and Dylan's like making his little oatmeal or whatever. And it's a cute little thing that he's doing. But she's
This
like,
is breakfast, not arts and crafts.
Yeah.
she's like at a level of stress, like of anxiety just from go. And I stayed stressed with her the whole movie.
She's stressed when there's all these earthquakes happening too, which I never really understood. And to this day, I still don't really understand the plot point behind that, other than just California is just on a fault line. Like, what's the significance of the
Well,
earthquakes?
so the earthquakes were originally in the script to be a ploy to explain away some of the like, her tensions and her anxiety because it's California. But then there was a real life earthquake that happened at the time that like devastated huge parts of California. So they used footage from the actual earthquakes, like all the times they show like demolished,
On the
fallen down,
TV
whatever.
or whatever,
Yes,
yeah.
and the TV, like all of that was real.
Oh,
The wall cracks and it looks like
like
claws to
slash,
us.
yeah.
Yes, but it's like it was an earthquake. Or later she has the slashes on her arms and they're like,
Mhm.
"Where'd you get these?" And she's like, "In the earthquake." Yeah.
Yeah. You know who else had slashes?
How the hell did I have such an emotional connection to that freaking dinosaur?
That stuff, like, he was a character, you didn't want him to die,
No, when she finds him later, let's just give some context for a second. Rex is a stuffed animal toy that
It's
the
a Rex is a
son
dinosaur
dinosaur
T-Rex.
toy,
Yeah.
yeah, that Dylan, the little boy, has that he keeps at his feet because he keeps Freddy away. But it gets to the point where you believe that this is like, okay, this is his actual shield, and his mom's
Yeah.
supposed to go get Rex, and she fucking doesn't because she's busy like having 10 mental breakdowns. But then we find Rex and he is ripped apart. And when I tell you as a kid, I went like took me
It's like when you
out.
see a dog die in movies. Yeah,
Yes,
it's
I
like,
like almost
no. Yeah.
cried. That's how connected I was. It was the equivalent almost of Wilson in Castaway for me. You know, I was just, oh my gosh, the way that Wes Craven wrote this freaking dinosaur into the movie. If I can ever get a stuffed Rex that has the 3 slashes and is sewed back together again,
I feel like I've
want, gotta
seen
have.
those. Are those does that merch not exist? I feel
They're
like
probably
it
out
should
there.
exist somewhere. Yeah,
I
like a
want
line of
one.
Rex
Yep.
plushies. Yeah.
I need that, and I also need to meet Miko Hughes. Those are my 2, those are my bucket list things.
Okay. All
Yep.
right. We'll see if we can
There you
make that
go.
happen, James.
Make it happen.
Yeah. James, I'm kind of struggling to figure out, what direction to go with this conversation because literally the entire movie is meta. And so I don't want to just give like, a PowerPoint on the entire movie.
What they also incorporate is like everyone in the movie is having the same nightmares, you find out. So this is the part that always like really killed me that I just thought was so great is you're watching even Bob Shea, who was at the time the head of New Line. He's playing himself. Bob Shea is playing Bob Shea, saying to Heather Langenkamp, who's playing Heather Langenkamp, hey, Wes Craven, who's playing Wes Craven, is writing the script for this movie. Will you be in it? And there are so many lines of dialogue. We don't need to go into them. Just watch the movie that they are referencing the movie that we're currently watching. It was giving a lot of like In the Mouth of Madness, John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness, where that movie is like, you're talking about a book that comes to life. The big twist at the end of that movie, we're going to spoil every movie for you here, is that he goes to the movies to watch a movie version of the book that came to life. And the movie he's watching is the movie we're watching.
Right.
That one scene is the entirety of this freaking
right. Because there's like a script that she gets in the script kind of as she reads it, it's like as things are happening in her real life.
No, there was no movie. There was only her life. Like, I love that.
Life.
I love that. The movie within the movie within the movie is the entirety of the story. If you remove any piece of this puzzle, you don't have a movie.
Right.
Which is what I found so fascinating, which is why it's like a psychological thriller, right? That kind of turns into a slasher movie later to the point where, like you said, Heather already knows the rules because the audience already knows the rules. So it's smart, smart writing.
Yeah.
We already have a preconceived notion of Heather. We already have a preconceived notion of John Saxon. John Saxon is back playing himself.
Yes.
Then at the end, he's
her dad again.
He's playing daddy. So we already kind of gravitate toward him as a father figure. So he plays that as himself here, which was smart. Now, Robert Englund plays Freddy Krueger. And in this movie, he plays himself as an actor, but he is like kind of like an over theatrical version of himself, like an over dramatized version of himself.
He's
but
painting,
but you kind of have a mistrust of him because he's Robert Englund. So the character of Heather gets to a point where she doesn't know if she can trust Robert because she's having these visions of Freddy. And so the audience doesn't trust him either. So it was smart on a lot of different levels.
One thing I wish they did loop back to was what happened to Robert, because like she calls him at one point and he leaves this, like he has this answering machine and he's like, you can leave a message if you want, but we're going to be gone for a long time.
So weird.
But I'm like, well, let's circle back. Like, you're Freddy, bitch. Like, where are you? Like, what are your dreams?
Yes. And this is the thing. When I watched it again, this is the first time I ever thought to myself, did John Saxon have some of these nightmares? Was John Saxon ever kind of plagued with do I play that character again?
Yeah.
Because it gets to the point where when later in the movie, Heather, who has been playing Heather this whole time, the question is, are you willing to play Nancy one last time? And she finally is talking to John Saxon, says, John, and
why are you calling me John? Yeah.
Why are you calling me Nancy, John? Why are you calling me John? Like, he's already playing
her dad,
the character, her dad. She has to agree to be Nancy. And when she does, it's this big dramatic moment where, Freddy comes out of the sheets and he can finally cross over to the real world and this and that, whatever. But it was the first time I thought like, wow, like, did he have all of this kind of shit happen like Heather did? And then so in that respect, did Robert, because it kind of suggests that Wes did.
Yeah.
Like,
it's completely implied that Wes did because he admits that. He goes, because she even asked him, he goes, well, did you know what was going to happen? It's like to her husband, And he goes, I had no idea, I did not, there's no way I knew that was actually going to happen, kind of a thing.
Yeah. But that was in the script. Bob Shea's getting mysterious phone calls. Like everyone everyone that's a part of the movie is getting,
everyone's fucked up. Yeah.
Everyone's fucked up. Yeah. Mental health, care was not available in 1994. And so they had to, they basically had to make a movie. It's also a great way to because audiences are going to say, why are you making another Freddy movie? He's dead. And they literally tell you in the Freddy movie, we have to make this Freddy movie because if we don't make this Freddy movie, you'll die.
He will get out.
He will actually get out and get you.
And so I like this movie a lot. As I was watching it back, because again, I haven't seen it in a very long time. I do wish it had shown a few more kills, like it was a lot of him trying to get to Dylan, right? And there is that, crazy throwback scene of Julie when she gets like drug up the wall,
Stealing.
in the hospital. But like the other stuff, I mean, I know like even though it was like a dream sequence, like the two special effects guys that get like slaughtered by the glove, on the set, that was just a dream. But then you find out later that they were found in a field somewhere,
There's long periods of, it's crazy for a slasher film back then. Like usually like every like 10 minutes you had to have a kill, right? Or every whatever. And
something. Yeah.
And that's why I always say this is like a psychological thriller.
It is. Yeah. It turns into a slasher in the last.
It turns because there are really
minutes.
no kills. Like there's the guys in the beginning, and then maybe 15-20 minutes in, we Chase dies horrifically in his car. Love that scene. But then there's an hour and something, and there are no deaths until Julie.
It's just it's just Nancy spiraling.
Oh, that's what I wanted to say before, is it is just Nancy spiraling. And after watching it this time, I realized this is really just Nancy's story.
Yeah.
And I was okay with it being like, we don't see what happens to Robert. We don't, we get the voiceover thing from Wes at the end, so we know what happens to Wes. We don't see what happens to Bob Shea. We are even introduced to an entire hospital staff that play a huge part in the third act. And they show up. We get some character moments. They get their comeuppance. One of them gets elbowed. One of them gets called an idiot.
Punched.
Done. And we never see them again, and that's fine. Like it all basically just, and we never see John Saxon again. He rides off in that car. You
don't see Robert Englund again.
No, but like John Saxon, did he technically just drive away and like, where is he?
Like I think it would have been cool even if like Amy Weiss had a kind of a cool moment, like with encounter with Freddy or something,
right?
I thought that would have been kind of neat too.
Could have been cute.
A lot of what ifs, but like still overall a very enjoyable movie, very different movie. Like it was, as far as I can remember, like really the first meta movie that slaps you in the face that it's meta. Do you think, question for you, do you think this movie came too soon in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise? Like, do you think, because it kind of killed the franchise a little bit? It's like the end, final chapter, basically. You know?
It's the best critically reviewed of the franchise.
Yeah.
It made the least money of the franchise.
Did it really? Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it sucks because, so I do think it came too soon, but it was a great thing to say like, oh, the 10th anniversary is coming up, because even though, like we said, time is a construct and it felt like such a long period of time. Freddy's Dead came out a couple of years prior.
Just right before. Yeah.
Right before. So
I like the idea of this, but this would almost be like, now that we're such, lifelong horror fans, it'd been cool, like, okay, because now like with like the requels and like the legacy sequels, like this could have happened now, and then maybe in like the late 90s, we could have had another Freddy movie, and like the early 2000s, like something else. And then you get
my only thing is it would have looked a lot different because Wes blew up after Scream. Maybe that'd be better, but well, maybe not though, because this
My
movie,
Soul to Take was not that good. I did not like that movie.
I really did not like that movie either. I also wanted to throw out there, because if we're making Scream references and stuff, if you noticed, and I did, that Heather Langenkamp is wearing light denim for the entire second half of the movie. And so is Nev Campbell in Scream.
Wow.
And yes, so I just love that he loves like a soft blue palette on his movie ladies. Okay. He knew what he was doing, or his costume people knew what they were doing. And then I never noticed this before. It goes along with like the characters talking about the movie that they're in happening a lot, and then references to, like every kid knows who Freddy is, and
he's like Santa Claus.
Like Santa Claus. And Bob Shea earlier says kids love horror, like all that kind of stuff. Like she bumps into the nurse at one point and she's like, Freddy's trying to get my kid, and she's like, who, Freddy Krueger or something? Like it really speaks to that. But maybe I'm reading too much into it, but bitch, that's what I do. Is the doctor character. There's one character in the movie who's like, Heather Langenkamp, you're a crazy bitch, and we're going to try to take your son away from you because we think your son's a crazy bitch, and we think he's a crazy bitch because of you.
We're like, putting him in foster care. Yeah.
Yes, we put him in foster care. Like which technically, this little boy's not getting any sleep. He's talking about Freddy Krueger in his dreams and making weird comments and doing weird shit, all this stuff. The doctors are like, where is this coming from? And they look at Heather Langenkamp, and she is just distraught. you know, she's a mess. And then she shows up and she has wounds and she's frantic. And they're like,
Her
you need to
hair's
sit down.
gray.
Yes,
Yeah.
her hair's turning gray.
Her roots
So
are showing.
I understand her, like, why she's in the movie in this role, in this capacity. I looked at her now, looking at this from like the meta, like every character represents like a movie something, like it's all self-referential. I looked at her as like the crotchety, pretentious movie critic who is going to question and comment on everything that's happening. And everything that's happening is like, you look down on the genre, you only see it as being a negative. It's only a negative impact on kids. She always says, like, you don't let your kids watch
Your
these
films.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, your films. And then when she says something along the lines of like, maybe he did, she gives her such a side eye. This actress was amazing who's playing the doctor. But that's how I looked at that character.
We're gonna cut this evil out of.
Yeah. Oh, I loved that scene when the thing like that wraps around.
Yeah.
So good. But yeah, that's how I looked at her.
Oh, and shout out to Lynn Shay just appearing as a nurse. Yeah.
Look at us not even mentioning Lynn Shay, who is in the original and then pops up in this one as a nurse, as a very endearing nurse. She's so sweet and so
She's
nice.
like, he's gonna be okay. Yeah. And what hospital doesn't let the mom stay with their kid? You know what I mean?
There was a lot of weird HIPAA shit going on in this movie.
I know.
Because like she was like, the visiting hours are over, Mom.
Like,
go home.
Man, this is my kid.
She says, well, is he okay? And she's like, well, he's okay. He had some issues earlier. He's in an oxygen tank now,
like,
or
bitch,
something. What the fuck?
Yeah.
You're supposed to call me.
I know.
I'm a goddamn mom. Yeah. So that was all weird and wild and crazy kids. But besides some questionable CGI at the end, because once it goes into full slasher mode, the third act kicks off with Freddy coming out of the closet. Maybe that's some meta shit too.
I saw them boots he was wearing. He was wearing like those knee-high, like
his outfit,
leather boot girl.
He was giving the sweater. Upgraded Gucci, Prada, elegance.
We see
fashion.
You, ho.
Yeah. So yeah, she came out with her eyeliner on and everything.
Yeah.
And attacks Heather in her bedroom. And there's like one intimate scene where he's basically on top of her and he calls her Nancy. And as a kid, God, I'm gonna sound such like a little queer, but I got chills as a kid because it was the realization of he's in the real world now, essentially, and it, I don't know, like my little meta queer brain exploded with like, oh my God, he's calling her Nancy, and
I don't think
has to accept.
My brain couldn't even process exactly what all was happening when I saw this as a kid. I knew what was going. I knew like the basic plot. Okay, they're pretending like the Nightmare on Elm Street were just movies and we're in the real world, but like all those little subtle bits of dialogue just went right over my. How old was I on this in '94 when this came out? I wasn't even 10 years old. I was like 8. Yeah,
Ooh,
I was 8 years old. I was 8.
Same, but I was such a horror for behind the scenes stuff at 8 years old that I was like drooling over this movie. So that kicks off the third act, and then it's I think I love a sense of urgency. I think this movie has tons, but
it turns into aliens. She has to go rescue Newt.
Exactly, she's gonna rescue Newt. Yep, 100%. We are introduced. There's a lot of setup and payoff in this movie too. We're introduced to the story of Hansel and Gretel in the beginning.
Yes,
and iconically in Hansel and Gretel in this version, it's sleeping pills
instead of breadcrumbs.
So she takes the pills to fall asleep to go find Dylan. And then again, questionable CGI, some weird like boom, pew moments, with the sound effects.
Yeah.
And some of the music, it gets weird. It's crazy how drastically kind of almost unserious the third act becomes in just the last like 15-20 minutes when she's in like the dreamland and stuff, but still loved it. I still stan.
It's fun.
And speaking of the Hansel and Gretel moment, I mentioned this very briefly earlier, but the biggest character development moment that I noticed this time watching is that Heather Langenkamp, for some reason, thinks that Hansel and Gretel is too violent for Dylan.
Oh,
like she's so stressed with him. She's so overprotective. And they're reading right in the beginning of Hansel and Gretel. And she's like, happily ever after, they went home, pew. And he's like, that's not how it goes. And she's like, it's just too violent. And then he, amazingly, Miko Hughes, again, where's the Oscar, recites the whole rest of the story. And she's like, what the fuck? Like, but at the end of the movie, everything's wrapped up. It's all said and done. She's looking at the script, which is the script of the movie that we're watching. Again, iconic, Wes Craven, love you. And Dylan says, is it a story? And she says, yeah, it's a story. And then she proceeds to start reading it to him.
Yeah.
So her character development is that kids love horror and who gives a shit?
It's gonna be fine. Exactly.
He's gonna be fine.
He's gonna be just fine. Look at us. I
It's
mean,
really
worst
not
case
that serious.
scenario, he'll make a horror podcast later in life. It's okay.
Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Thank you.
Now, do you have any thoughts on comparing and contrasting the two movies?
Well, like I said before, I think that, the similar thread between the two is that plot of like the movie creator having to finish their project to kind of get some sort of resolve in their life. In Popcorn, it's Maggie trying to remember her past. It's Toby trying to get closure from the fire. And
Mhm.
this one, it's Wes trying to fucking keep Freddy or this ancient entity from
Yeah.
escaping into the real world.
Yeah.
So I think those are the two closest examples of how these two are similar for me.
Mhm.
What about
That's
you?
perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I love that. I love that both movies kind of speak to the idea of like the way we consume movies.
Hmm.
And especially horror. And it's the reason it's more kind of prevalent over other genres. Like meta wouldn't work as well in
Like a
like a
rom
romantic
com.
comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Both movies use dreams as a kind of like binding agent to connect
Hmm.
the protagonist in reality to the antagonist. Like they both do it in totally different ways, but I loved that aspect. And then both movies revel in being like about horror fans, but also for horror fans,
Right.
but doing it organically. I mean, this is going to be a little pretentious, but like the movies are kind of too smart for their own good, Popcorn included. Like they're both very well written movies and masquerading as just silly slasher films.
I like that you say that because I think that because the reason we did this is because the new Scream movie is coming out. Scream
Mhm.
7 is upon us. Some of the later installments in Scream, like especially 5 and 6, just kind of grate my nerves. When they're like self-referential, it's very on the nose and they try too hard and like they throw it in your face constantly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem as subtle or as organic as it did in
Right.
the earlier Scream movies or even in these. And I think
Yes.
that's something that they can maybe tweak a little bit. It's like, okay, the whole, like, especially, I always go back to the scene of Mindy in her fucking living room giving a whole
Yes.
spiel about the movies. And I'm just like, it just, that whole,
The
I got,
requel.
yes, I got just
It
like
didn't catch on, girl.
secondhand embarrassment goosebumps
Yeah.
came all over me. So if we could just not do that in 7, I think I will enjoy it more.
I do enjoy part 6 a lot, but it's like it's not the same kind of meta. Like I enjoy it because I just think it's like a fun, scary slasher movie. And it does speak to me as a Scream fan specifically because of like the shrine and such. But the previous movies, 1, 2, 3, 4, were really great at speaking to horror fans.
Yeah, but
Like
in a not a
shoving
pretentious, like
not a
preachy
pretentious
way.
way.
Yeah,
No.
I think
Mhm.
now that I look back at like the film class in like that discussion in the second one, it does make me
Yes.
cringe a little bit, but
Oh.
that's because some film students can be fucking cringe, and so
Well,
I'm like, well, that's maybe why it's cringe is
maybe
because
it's why.
we do say shit like this sometimes, and it's embarrassing.
My only thing with Scream 2 in that one scene, because I love the movie, is Randy is wrong. Randy corrects someone who
Oh, about
says,
aliens,
"Stay
yeah,
away from her, you bitch." And he's
yeah,
like, I believe the line is, "Get away from her, you bitch." Whichever
yeah.
line he says it is the wrong line. And I just wish that
He said,
someone had
"Stay away
checked.
from her," and I think it's
It's
actually
get.
get away
Yes.
from her, you bitch. Yeah,
So I'm a little upset with him well, I can't be upset because then he died.
he died for his sins. Yeah,
He died for his
he
sins.
got it
His
wrong.
punishment was Amen. God
So
bless you, Mr. President.
before we like wrap this up, I do want to shout out a couple of like other movies that kind of came to mind when we were doing
Mm.
this, and it not necessarily super meta movies. However, Monster Squad. I know you haven't seen Monster Squad yet, have you?
No,
No.
no. The vibe
They're
I've gotten without spoiling anything is it's like a Goonies style group of kids is going up against like Universal monsters,
exactly.
but they've seen the Universal
They know,
monsters
right?
movies.
They know the movies. They're
Yes.
aware of the movies. Like there's a little line of dialogue where they're wanting to go see Groundhog Day 14. And that's like
Okay.
in that movie
Okay.
there's like a sequel of like
Gotcha.
there's been 14 of those slashers already,
Yeah,
right?
Jaws 25. Okay.
Yes,
Cool.
and so they
Yes.
make little lines of dialogue like that. Yes, and
Yeah.
they're having to fight, and there's like dialogue of like, how do you kill werewolves and stuff like this? How do you kill vampires? They're called
Mhm.
the Monster Squad, and so they
Yeah,
love monster
I
movies
love
and that
that.
stuff. And even in Friday the 13th Part 6, the character of Sissy, when she wants to play the card game about which cabin's Jason in,
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, I loved that one also. You very good call out. That movie is so self-referential. It's probably
Yes.
more self-referential than it is like meta, if there's even a difference.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, I
It's
forgot.
like they're
It was
almost
so
aware
iconic.
that they're well, because they even say, like, "I've seen enough horror movies to know, like, anytime you see some guy with
Yep.
a hockey mask on, you need to
It's
run
never
away or
good.
whatever.
Yep.
It's never good."
Yeah.
Like, so there's, like, little bits of dialogue like
Yes.
that. Can you think of any others? Like, even if it's not necessarily the entire movie, just, like, little bits of dialogue?
You still have not seen Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
No, I need to.
So we won't go into details, but that is an amazing meta self-referential horror film where it's essentially like a horror documentary. It's almost like a Blair Witch. Like, we're gonna go look for this killer. The documentary actually starts with, like, some towns have a something something story, like the little boy in Haddonfield who killed his babysitters,
Yeah.
or the boy who drowned in Crystal Lake but allegedly keeps coming back. Like, we might have that here in Glen Echo Falls, whatever the hell the name of the town is, but you're in a world where those characters are real. It's
Okay.
good. It's cute. Yes.
I will put it at the top of my list.
Put it at the top of your list, bitch. Thank you for sitting here and listening to us talk about these movies. Meet us in the comments and let us know what you think of these movies and other like meta horror films. For more Don't Be Dead, watch on YouTube, listen wherever podcasts are available, and get extra content exclusively on Patreon. Don't forget to leave us a review. And until next time, Dirk,
don't be dead.